Leslie Weatherhead is a noted English clergy person and a theologian. And he shared this story about a sailor who dove in the water to rescue a young boy, a child. A few days later, the boy and his mother were shopping in a nearby town, and the boy recognized the sailor and told his mother. His mother walked up to the sailor and said, "Are you the man who saved my son?" He humbly replied, "Yes, I believe I am." And then she sort of said to him, "Well, you know, he had a hat on. Where's his hat?" That's a little bit different than the story we read about Mary anointing Jesus' feet out of gratitude that he raised her brother Lazarus. It's almost a testimonial dinner. In my ministry, I've had the pleasure of knowing at least 7 transplant persons, organ transplant persons. I've journeyed with them through the shock, the disbelief, the anger, the fear, and also the hope. With some of them, I've guided them in writing letters to their children for the wonderful times in their life, those milestone events, in case they wouldn't be here. With at least one of them, Kenny, at his daughter's wedding, he read the letter to them. I've shared their joy after the transplant and their appreciation and their thanksgiving to God for the gift of life restored and renewed for the additional time that they've had. That's what Mary is doing. She's received the gift of more time with her brother, of enjoying more life together, of seeing him grow and mature and continue to bless her life and the world with his presence. She went to an extreme, washing him with her expensive perfume and drying it with her hair, which was a very unusual thing on that time because women weren't allowed to let down their hair except in front of their husbands. An extravagant Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is an important part of life. Gratitude. It's easy to recognize it over those large kinds of things like our life being spared or getting a new organ so that we can continue life. It's sometimes a little more difficult to see it in the smaller things of life. I've faced my own death several times in life's journey. And I remember one of those times getting up in the morning, and in my mind was the sense that, gee, this is coming close to the last time I'm going to be doing some of these things and experiencing some of these things. I remember smelling the aroma of the coffee and feeling the spirit of thanksgiving. Wow, that smells great. The taste of the breakfast and the food, looking around and seeing familiar things that have brought me joy and meaning in life. Seeing and talking to the people that are important to me. a sense of sadness, but yet at the same time, a sense of joy and gratitude and thanksgiving for these things in life's journey. I was inspired by our daughter's pediatrician. When you went into his office, it was filled with pictures of nature, close-ups of flowers, things in the world around us that took on an exceptional beauty when you saw them in his photographs. And they still hang in some of the halls at Lehigh Valley Hospital, Cedar Crest. It inspired me to take those pictures of nature myself and to share that joy with my granddaughters. They now have some of my cameras. The joy in the small things of life. Thanksgiving is an important part of life and a sense of gratitude. It helps us to deal with and to combat the all or nothing thinkings in life. All or nothing thinking is that either it's all good or it's all bad. There's no in between. We live today in a world of gloom and doom, a lot of chaos, and uncertainty about the future. They're beginning to call the next generation that comes along the anxious generation to take that into consideration. A spirit of thanksgiving helps us to put some balance, to move that all or nothing thinking more in the center. A spirit of thanksgiving as we look back in our life helps us develop a sense of hope. One of my favorite passages of scriptures is from Romans. In Romans, Paul says, I rejoice in my suffering. Who does that? But he goes on to say that suffering produces endurance. Endurance produces character, and character does not disappoint. My paraphrase of that is, with God's help, I've done it before. I can do it again. A spirit of thanksgiving, even in the difficult times that we've survived, is an offering of hope. Thanksgiving links us with other persons. We struggle in life almost again that all or nothing thinking between being dependent and being independent. When probably the reality of life is that we're interdependent. When we're a child, we're very dependent on others. When we get into our teen years and our early adulthood, we're struggling to discover our independence. And hopefully as we move on in life, we discover that we're mutually dependent on other people. We can't go it alone. It doesn't work. I've seen the TV shows about living off the grid, to get away from it all, to be independent. And yet as I've watched them, I've discovered that they're really not independent. They're bringing with them tools. They're bringing with them some of the things, other things that made life fascinating, even the clothing that they were wearing. They didn't make on their own. They brought with them seeds that they bought in the store to plant in the garden and to stop it. They weren't independent. They couldn't make it on their own. They needed other persons. Part of what's taking place here with Mary and with Jesus She's showing Jesus her gratitude. She's acknowledging that she needs something outside of herself. In working with a 12-step program, one of the women in the 12-step program, when it came to determining her higher power, at this time in her life was an atheist. And she couldn't see her higher power as God. So she looked at her higher power as her own expectations and aspirations for her own life. She soon discovered that oftentimes she sabotaged her own aspirations. She realized she couldn't do it alone. She needed something that was beyond herself, that could look beyond the moment, because we oftentimes get trapped in the moment. That's all we see. That all or nothing thinking comes out again. And she discovered what she needed was another power outside of herself. And she slowly came to a belief and a faith and a trust in God. But out of that, she realized also that she needed other people to encourage her. She needed other people to question some of the things she was doing, to be a corrective in her life. She needed other people to weep with her and to console her when things didn't go well. But she needed other people also to share her joy and to celebrate the triumphs and the successes she was having so she could build upon them. She couldn't do it on her own. And she became grateful and thankful for the other persons in her life. Gratitude. Saying thank you. Acknowledging the other persons in our lives is an important part of our independence and an important part of our thanksgiving. The company I work for, I work for hospice as a chaplain and a grief counselor. And the company I work for has realized the importance of gratitude, of being recognized for what you do. On our team's chat, they have a little, one of the chats is words to lift you up. And it's ways in which we can share with each other things that we've noticed about them. How they've cared for our patients and their family. The extra mile they've gone. The unique gifts and talents that they possess. The accolades from families and the thank you notes that we get. The corporate world has begun to realize that that's important for morale. And it also increases productivity and the efficiency at which we go about our tasks. Offering gratitude to other persons is very important in building them up and in building our community. A pastor I admired shared something with me. He saved the thank you notes. And he'd get them out when he was down on himself or wondering if he was worthwhile or if he was doing a good job, or when he made a mistake and was struggling with that. Get out the thank you notes and read them. And they helped him get through it. He could feel better about himself. I have to be honest and say I've picked up his habit. But words of appreciation, words of thanksgiving, words of gratitude build the community. They knit us together. They bind us together. Mary's gratitude involved in doing something special for Jesus, anointing him with a very expensive perfume and oil, drying his feet with her hair. We can't do that for Jesus in person. What we do today with our gratitude, with our sense of thanksgiving for what God has done for us, is as Jesus suggested. When do we do these things for you? When did we feed you when you were hungry? When did we clothe you when you were naked? Well, when you did it to the least of these. Gratitude binds us together with other persons, and we reach out in acts of service and kindness and compassion and healing, support, love, out of a sense of thanksgiving for what Jesus and God has done for us. But we can't do those things like Mary did for God in person. We do them to other people. It knits and binds us together, this sense of gratitude that we feel, this sense of thanksgiving, this sense of praise. It is the tie that binds. I invite you to focus and to consider the things that in life's journey you are grateful for, the blessings that you have received, the people that have been there for you, and to share your gratitude and your thanksgiving with them and the world. So let it be.